In a recent study, more than 2/3 of veterans asked felt the skills that they obtained in the military are relevant to civilian jobs. But in a similar study, 60% of HR managers said that they felt vets had trouble translating military skills into civilian resumes and interviews. So there's a disconnect here in how you all see your skills and how those people see your skills. And I think one of the best ways to combat that is to talk a little bit about transferable skills. Here's a list of some of the skills that those civilian hiring managers said they wanted to see in resumes. And these are general skills. Discipline, respect for procedure and accountability, adaptability, loyalty, resiliency, conquering adversity. Now, don't those sound like skills that you learned in the military? Thriving under pressure, leadership, teamwork, self-motivation, global international experience, and communication skills. I mean, if you asked me to come up with 10 skills that I associate with vets, I think just about every one of those would be on my list. Sometimes veteran job seekers get too technical. They try and get into the protocol or the system or the exact name of the jet they flew. And if you focus more on your leadership experience, your teamwork experience, your ability to deal with pressure, you may find that your skills are more applicable to civilian job search. So we're going to talk a little bit more about how to translate military experience to civilian experience. So I've got a couple of more questions. Did you manage equipment or personnel? How many people did you manage? What type of equipment did you manage? You know, these are questions we get asked every single day, and it can humanize and civilianize your experience if you think in these terms. You know, what was your budget if you managed equipment and supplies? You know, I spoke to someone who flew a $40 million airplane. 95% of the civilian job seekers I work with have never managed a piece of equipment worth $40 million. They just haven't. And it's hard for you to think in those terms of budgets and what it's worth. It's not natural to your training. But if you think in those terms, suddenly your experience becomes much more relatable. Were you involved in implementing or enforcing policies and procedures? That's something that's pretty common in the military, and it's highly applicable to civilian jobs. What were your day-to-day responsibilities? What types of projects were you involved with? What were the skills or training that you most frequently used on the job? These are all things that you can include in your resume to show a little bit more well-rounded background and training. But again, these are questions I bet each of you has done most of these things, or could give some items we could include in your resume for these questions. It's just a good way to make your experience that much more transferable. Now, I'd just like to talk to you quickly about a couple of websites. Does anyone know about the COOL program? It's a program built by the military. There's currently COOL Army and COOL Navy. I know they're working on the other two, and this was what the website does. All it's designed to do is to translate military jargon, military rank, military terms to civilian ease. So you can go to these websites, type in the programs you've been involved with, the training you have, and these two websites will help you come up with the civilian phrase for the same thing if there is one. So it's a really great online free website to help you develop content that's going to be more applicable to the people out there. Down here is something, the Occupational Outlook Handbook. I mention this every time I give a speech. It's a website free by the government, and what it does is it describes the requirements, duties, and average salaries for every job you can think of. So if, let's say, you want to be applied to be an operations manager, you can look up their description of what an operations manager does, and it will help you build your summary, your branding statement. If you're looking between a couple of career paths, you can analyze what the average salary is for those roles so that you can make some long-term decisions about your career. This is such a great free resource for identifying terms, phrases that you can use in your resume. Let them do the work, and then you can pick the ones that apply best to you. But these are great free resources to help you if you're stuck trying to come up with content. You know, look up the job you want first, and then see what applies to you and what doesn't. So I can't recommend these two resources highly enough.